Bakr al-Baghdadi. He was the founder and leader of a group he called the Islamic State, which used an interpretation of Islam that contradicts what most mainstream Muslim scholars agree on. This group declared itself a caliphate in 2014 and took control of large parts of Iraq and Syria. It committed shocking acts of violence that drew worldwide attention. He led the genocide of the Yazidi people, ordered mass rapes and executions, and personally held several women as slaves and raped them, including the American aid worker Kayla Mueller, who died in 2015. His fighters became known for brutal acts like beheadings, crucifixions, and burning people alive. These killings were often filmed and shared online to scare their enemies and attract new followers. He was also behind many bombings, terrorist attacks, and the murder of thousands of civilians. Even when he began to lose territory, he continued to call for global jihad and encouraged attacks around the world. In 2019, U.S. forces tracked him to a hideout in Syria, but during the raid, Baghdadi killed himself and 2 of his kids by setting off a suicide vest. Joseph Kony. Joseph Kony is a Ugandan warlord who created the Lord's Resistance Army, one of the most violent rebel groups in Africa. He claimed he was a prophet chosen by God and said he wanted to create a Christian country based on the 10 Commandments. But his actions were the opposite of anything religious. Under his orders, the LRA kidnapped more than 60,000 children. Boys were forced to become soldiers and trained to kill. The group tortured civilians, cut off people's lips and ears, and destroyed entire villages. Between 1986 and 2009, the LRA caused the deaths of over 100,000 people and forced about 2 million people to flee their homes. In 2005, the International Criminal Court charged Kony with war crimes and crimes against humanity, and he has been wanted by Interpol since 2006, but he's never been caught. His group left Uganda and moved into remote parts of Central Africa, making it hard for soldiers to find him. At its peak, the LRA had about 3,000 fighters, but by 2017, it had dropped to fewer than 100. Even after losing lots of members, the group kept attacking civilians. Kony is believed to have had about 60 wives and fathered more than 40 children. Nowadays, he is thought to be hiding in places like the Darur region of Sudan, still giving orders to the small number of fighters who remain loyal to him. Zeljko Raznadović, also known as Arkan. He was one of the most feared warlords during the Yugoslav wars. That's because he led the Serb Volunteer Guard, also called Arkan's Tigers, a paramilitary unit responsible for massacres, rapes, torture, ethnic cleansing, and the murder of civilians in Bosnia and Croatia. His group was known for acts of extreme cruelty, like locking civilians in tiny rooms without food or water, mass executions, and even forcing refugees to fight each other under threat with guns. Before the wars, Arkan was already infamous across Europe. He was a criminal who robbed banks in at least 6 countries and escaped from prison multiple times. He worked with the Yugoslav secret police and gained influence through a mix of violence and political protection. In Serbia, he became a symbol of gangster power, running nightclubs, smuggling fuel, and controlling a football team. He ran the FK Ulik football club, and to win, he threatened opposing players with guns or had them locked up. During the wars, he grew his wealth by looting, black market trade, and forming ties with mafia networks in Europe. He was assassinated in 2000 in a hotel lobby in Belgrade, likely because he had lost protection from Serbia's ruling elite and had become too powerful. He was also indicted by the International Criminal Tribunal for war crimes and crimes against humanity, including genocide, but he was assassinated before he could be tried. Timur. Considering himself the successor of Genghis Khan and wanting to rebuild the Mongol Empire, Timur was one of the most brutal warlords in history. He called himself the Sword of Islam, and there was a reason for that. He was a Turco-Mongol conqueror born in the 1320s near Kesh in today's Uzbekistan, and he created the Timurid Empire. It was during his expansion that he was one of the most feared rulers of his time, as he showed no mercy and simply killed anyone that stood in his path. For example, when he conquered Delhi and its citizens rebelled, his army killed much of the population, took many as slaves, and stacked their heads in piles. In 1401, he attacked Baghdad and told each of his soldiers to bring back at least 2 severed heads. When they ran out of prisoners, some soldiers reportedly killed their own wives to meet the demand. He's also famous for never having lost a battle. If you like this video, subscribe for similar ones.